started to do some garden planning. There's already been a lot of garden planning and doing happening, but we really wanted to document the process. I got a little grid journal, and it's gonna be our little gardening journal, which is very exciting. I've just started, and the first things I'm gonna put in here are, I got this So True seed catalog. I didn't buy seeds from here, but I like that they have a planting guide. And so I'm gonna tear this out and use this as like the front page of our little gardening journal, just to have as like a reference. I'm like, honestly, just, I've always wanted to do this. Really excited to actually do, like I said, like I've gardened before, but this is really first time doing something like this. I have a lot to learn. I am most excited to just, honestly, like I'm excited for the yield. I'm excited to grow our own food and all, like, you know, experience the health benefits from all the food. But I think more than anything, most excited to have my little outdoor hobby, you know, where I can like wake up in the mornings and like go tinker and take care of the garden every day. Genuinely, like the alignment I feel when I'm doing that is like, I can't explain. It's like I am one with nature and what I'm supposed to be doing. It's just something that really makes me so happy. Got the little planting guide here, which just kind of goes over like the crop, planting season, sun needed, soil temp needed, frost tolerance, all these things. Our garden specific, I'm gonna put in our soil test data and tape this in here. This will be its own little spot. This is like my version of scrapbooking and like, I don't know, journaling. These are the seeds that we have. This is our little seed library. And not all of this is going to get planted. I don't even think we have room for all of this, but it's a good mix of veg and herbs and some fruit here and there, and flowers for pollinators. But yeah, so this is what the soil test looks like. I just found a company online, like a family-owned company online that did soil testing. So basically what we learned was that our soil is pretty balanced overall, and we are low in like pretty common nutrients. So nitrogen is pretty low, potassium, sulfur is low, magnesium is on the lower side, iron is low, and boron is low. And so I actually emailed a local ag company, Marion Ag, and I said, hey, these are our test results. What do you recommend? And they recommended some amendments. I don't know if we're gonna actually we might actually end up buying the amendments from them, but what we've been doing is we've been searching for a topsoil and compost, because we don't have our own compost, that we want to put in the garden. And what we found is that a lot of the, what are they called? Like soil and rock yards or landscaping companies that you can order soil from. A lot of them are part of the Green Bin program, thanks to our friend Ryan, who let us know about this. And he said, go check the soil yard before you buy, because a lot of these companies are part of the Green Bin program, and you'll find a lot of plastic in the soil. And so we found a company that had a soil that we liked that would be good for our plot. And we went there to check the soil, and it was full of plastic. And a lot of the companies are the same way. And so we're trying to find somewhere to order from, to either pick up or have them ship it. And so we're just doing a lot of that work. If we can't find a place, we might end up going to just like, we got a bag of topsoil from Lowe's. That's just like their organic multi-use topsoil. Opened it up, checked it for plastic. It's totally clean. And that is another option for us. We might just have to get a bunch of bags of this topsoil and then amend it ourselves. We're still trying to figure that part out. What I'd like to do is kind of start listing out all the things that we want to grow this year. I already got some seeds started. I'm gonna list out all the things that we want to grow this year, and then what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna draw our plot and then do a little bit of research about what grows together well. Which I think that there's a rule where it's like, if it's like good together, it grows together, or I don't know what the saying is. I'm gonna do a little bit of more research and then I'll check back in. A couple hours later, had dinner and did a little bit more planning. Taped in, what is this, like a planting guide? And I put in a companion plant guide, and that's specifically what I wanted to take some more time to learn about. Then based on, like, I made some notes here based on the companion planting recommendations about like what we had and what we're planning and like what goes well together. And it's not like super comprehensive, but it gives me an idea of like how I might be able to map the plots out. I also made a list of like all the stuff that we want to grow. And then this is my first take at planning our plot, which is 20 feet by 25 feet. And so if we just did rows, we could technically fit 5 3-foot rows plus a little bit. And so I just mapped that out and started like noting what grew together and like how much sun it needs, how much sun. I'm pretty sure like what corner of the plot will get the most sun, and sort of mapping it out by that. And so like in the first row, I've got bell peppers, spicy peppers, and tomatoes. And then with those have parsley, basil, and oregano growing. And then in the second row, I've got zucchini, cucumber, and then also radish and carrot and nasturtium, and then also calendula growing on the ends. And then in the third row have kale, cilantro, broccoli, sage, cauliflower, sage. I also was looking at like how much space each mature plant needs. And so depending on what we're growing, it needs like more, you know what I mean. Fourth row, this is kind of where I was like, oh, things are getting a little bit, who knows, but like more calendula, squash, and spinach and chives. And then our last row is a little bit shorter, and there's a bunch of daffodils growing in one part of it, which I think once they're done blooming, I'm gonna transplant out because we don't really need daffodils in our vegetable garden. Just plant some more marigolds around there and then do a strawberry patch and do some more chives. And then all around the entire perimeter on the outside of the garden, we have, 4-foot chicken wire, created a fence with and dug it 3 to 5 inches underground so that rabbits won't like dig through, hopefully. And then we're gonna plant marigolds all around the outside, like external perimeter, and then disperse calendula all throughout the garden. And then also in the far corner where I think the bunnies like enter in to our yard, I've also placed onions because onions are also a bunny deterrent. That's like most of what we want to grow actually, like squished into this. And then there's a bunch of herbs that I wasn't able to fit in here. And I was kind of like playing around with the idea of like, okay, what do we want to grow for the sake of like medicinal herbs or tea herbs or just like things that are good for the garden? Like I want a bunch of comfrey because it's great for garden soil. It's also great for pollinators, and it's also great to put underneath like fruit trees. Bunnies like comfrey leaves. And so, I mean, they like everything. But anyways, I'm like, comfrey, like, it doesn't really matter if bunnies eat some of the comfrey. It grows really big, it grows really fast. And so we'll leave that outside of the fenced garden and then figure out kind of like where else we can put stuff. Because the other things I wasn't able to fit on there were pretty much like the other herbs. So I wanted to do hyssop, bergamot, lemon bergamot, marshmallow root, chamomile. Also want to do some melons, which I think some of these crops are going to be earlier in the season and some later. And I think for the fruits, it's kind of like, I think from what I understand, like for melon, you can kind of plant it later in the summer into fall. And so I think, you know, once a certain crop dies down, then you can kind of grow some other things in there. So it'll also be like the timing thing, which I still like need to learn a little bit more about. That is my planning so far. What I think I'm gonna do is do this a couple of different times, because the other idea, instead of just doing these rows, I was like, what would it look like if we did beds all around the perimeter like this, and then created like a walkway and then something in the middle here? I don't know what that would look like square footage wise, but I'm gonna do some sketching to see like if we could potentially get more planting area by organizing this in a slightly different way that feels a little bit more natural too. Like I like the idea of it being like a circle and like being able to walk around in a circle like that. I'm getting a little hippie witchy now, but you guys get the gist. So yeah, I would love your tips. I'm in zone 8A, 8B, Portland, I'll share more once we have it.